I'm sorry this is so late, and I'm sorry I've missed so many videos, but school. Hey guys, it's Hannah, and today I'm doing my March wrap-up in April TBR on like the 22nd of April or something like that. Basically the end of April. Oops. School has just been crazy, and honestly you probably won't see another video until the end of school. If you do, hallelujah. If you don't, you've now expected it. As you recall, my February wrap-up was pretty bad, but I read a lot of books in March, so that makes up for it. So the first 3 books I read in the month of March, I actually did for a 24-hour readathon, so I will leave that vlog linked down below and in the corner. First book was mostly Harmless by Douglas Adams, the 5th installment in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy trilogy. It was fantastic. It brought back all of those feelings that the first book gave me. The first book is a book that is very hard to explain, and obviously I can't describe Mostly Harmless because that is the 5th book. But basically what happens in Hitchhiker's Guide is the Earth explodes, but Arthur Dent and Ford Perfect manage to hitchhike onto a ship and escape. There's a 2-headed president of the galaxy named Zaphod, I think that's how you say his name, and his girlfriend Trillian. There's a very depressed robot named Marvin. There's a bowl of petunias and a whale that fall out of the sky. It's just a ridiculous book that shouldn't work as well as it does, but it works beautifully. It's what I like to call stupid sci-fi, and it is just absolutely fantastic. If you haven't read it, I highly suggest you read it, and just know that the 5th book will most definitely be your second favorite book in the series right after Hitchhiker's Guide, because the first book, nothing can top the first book. The next book I read was Anyas Ghost by Vera Brosgol, I believe is how you say her last name, and this is actually a graphic novel, and it was, I believe, my first official graphic novel to read. I've read books where it's pictures interspersed with the text, but I don't think I've read a graphic novel. I've read some comic books, but mostly Garfield and Calvin Hobbes, so probably not the comic books you're thinking of. This book is about a girl who is an immigrant, I want to say from Germany, but I can't remember, so don't quote me on that. And one day she falls into this hole well thing, and there's a ghost down there. And once she finally gets out of the hole, the ghost somehow ends up coming out with her, and it's just about the ghost going about her everyday life with her and then taking a turn in a direction you might not have expected. It was a fantastic book. I read it in one sitting. It was so freaking good, and I loved it dearly. The next book is A Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. This is a bunch of fairy tales and folk tales set in the Grishaverse. So if you haven't read either the Six of Crows duology or her Grishaverse trilogy, then you might want to read those before you read this book. I think you technically could just get away with just reading the book because it's basically a book of fairy tales, but there are going to be some things where you're like, what is that? And you will know if you have read some of her other books. But it was fantastic. I loved how she had a bunch of our fairy tales and folk tales kind of interspersed. So while you're reading it, you're like, ooh, this makes me think of this one. Ooh, this makes me think of this one. But it read like an old-fashioned fairy tale, but it also had a very modern feel to it. So it's it could pertain to any kind of audience. It was just such a good book, so well written. The stories were fantastic and I loved them, and they were all so unique. Absolutely loved it. 5 out of 5. Fantastic. You have to read it. The next book I read was Caraball by Stephanie Garber. This book is about 2 sisters who live with their low-key abusive father, and they're wanting to escape when one day they get an invitation to go to a thing called Caraball, which is a 5-day, 4-day, basically circus spectacular, but you have to solve a mystery. And you can either play the game or watch the game, and they opt to play the game. But during the game, Scarlett, one of the sisters, her sister gets kidnapped. So the name of the game is to find her, and she does basically anything in her power to do that. And it was good. It wasn't fantastic, although it did grow on me towards the end. So I gave it about a 3 stars. It wasn't the best thing I've ever read. It didn't quite live up to all the hype for me, but it was also really good. If you like the Night Circus and kind of those dark circus novels, you will probably like this book. But just know, I wouldn't say it's as good as the Night Circus. I might continue on with the series, but I haven't decided yet just because it's not I desperately need the second book now. Plus, I think the second book follows the sister more, but probably eventually I'll try and pick it up. The next book I read was Grave Mercies by Robin Lefevers? This book is about a girl who has an abusive father, and one day she gets whisked away to this place where she's basically trained to be an assassin for a saint. Then she finds out that some of these people she's killing aren't as bad as they seem, and there's the whole thing, and she just kind of goes off, and it's hard to explain. And I also have a vlog where I read this book and talk about it a bit in the middle of reading it, so I'll leave that link down below and corner. Basically, this is another one that, like, it wasn't great but wasn't bad, but this one grew on me much more than Caraball did. So I think I ended up giving it about 4 stars because it did manage to bring it back. It just took me a long time to get into it, and I discussed that a lot in the vlog, so you can go watch that. But there are just some things I wish it had kind of like flushed out more. There's a lot of aspects that I feel like needed more attention put on them because the author would throw something at you and you're supposed to know like it in detail, but you didn't quite. So just there were a lot of little problems with it, but overall it was a good book and it did grow on me. Don't know if I'll continue on with the series because I think there is at least one more book, but it was a good read. The next book I read was Also Known As by Robin Benway. This book is about a girl who travels around with her parents who are members of this secret spy organization, and she is basically just an expert safecracker. Like, nobody knows how she does it, but she can do it so well. And one day her mission is to infiltrate a high school and befriend a boy to get close to his father, who is about to release information on her secret spy thing people that could basically ruin everyone's lives and probably end them too. This book is a good book to read if you just want something really cute and really quick for like a road trip or a plane ride or for the summer by the beach. It is so freaking adorable. Actually, when my family was here for Easter, there was one point when I was reading the next book I'm going to tell you about, and I lent this book to my cousin so she'd have something to read while I was reading, and she read it in like a day over the visit. So it's very quick. Oh, so cute. She'd be like laughing or she'd go, oh, and I know exactly what she was talking about. Adorable. So adorable. Lots of insta love, but so adorable that you don't really care. And the last book I read was Not If I Save You First by Ali Carter. This book is about a girl named Maddie who is the Secret Service agent who is in charge of guarding the president's wife's daughter, and about Logan, who is the president's son. And one day something happens and Maddie and her father end up moving to Alaska, and she and Logan lose all forms of contact. And then because of some reasons, Logan ends up in Alaska with them, and then because of some more reasons, he ends up kidnapped, and it's Maddie's job to save him. This book is so freaking fantastic. I read it in a day, and then like 2 days later I picked it up and reread it. It's an Ali Carter book through and through. Well written, but super fun and super quick. Maddie was fantastic because she's like this girly girl, you know, and she likes pink and she likes shimmer, but she can also throw a hatchet on a bullseye. She knows how to survive in the Alaskan wilderness. Like, she is this completely well-rounded little person, and I absolutely loved her. And Logan needed a chill sometimes, but oh my goodness, he was amazing. All around fantastic. Great characters, great character development. I loved the whole story. I loved everything about it. Can you tell I loved it? Because I loved it so much. Just, if you love Ali Carter and you haven't read this book yet, you need to read it. It is so good. So that is it for my March wrap up. The April TBR is kind of sad. I haven't read a book in April yet, and I have like 3 more days left in April. Maybe 4 or 5, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what day it is. The book I'm currently reading is Obsidian by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I am avoiding all forms of reviews and reading vlogs with this book, which means there's a lot of videos I haven't watched yet just because they're like, I'm reading Obsidian, and I'm like, I don't want to know anything about it. I am about halfway through and I am absolutely loving it so far. I'm loving how she's adding everything together. I'm loving the way it's going so far. It's also killing me, but I'm loving it. So hopefully I can get this finished before the month ends. That would be nice. After that, I don't know what I'll read. I might read Starry Eyes by Jen Bennett because I bought that book. I might read Meet Cute by a whole bunch of authors because I bought this book and I really want to read it. We'll see. So that is it for this video. Comment down below what you read in the month of March or in the month of April, since April's already almost over. Also comment down below and let me know if you have read Ali Carter's latest book because it is so freaking fantastic. And you need to read it if you haven't yet, and if you have read it, we need to gush about it. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see y'all again in another one eventually.